Hi, and welcome to the first episode of Ask Me Anything with me, paranormal romance author Felicity Heaton. This question comes from Terry, who asked, will there be another book in the Guardians of Hades series as they look for their sister? Well, Terry, that's a really timely question because I'm about to release Thanatos, which is book 8 in the Guardians of Hades series. Now, Thanatos has been charged with finding Calindria, because it turns out that Calindria, which is Hades and Persephone's only daughter, is not dead. That's a major spoiler alert if you've only just started the series, but since the question is about finding their sister, I feel that you should probably know from the fact that I'm being asked about finding their sister that she is actually alive. I don't think, it's debatable whether she's alive. I can't give spoilers about that. Actually Thanatos, not the brothers, is the one hunting for Calindria because being the god of death, he should be able to find where she is since she didn't pass into the veil to be judged by Hades. Now, this kind of means that she may or may not be dead, but I can't really reveal that because a lot of the story kind of focuses around that. But yeah, she's about to get found, and Thanatos is also about to find that he's met his match. I mean, this is a woman who is a goddess who has spent 6 centuries in a cage, and she's not happy about anything when she gets out of there. I mean, she's got a mission and she is going to fulfill it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. So the next question comes from Kate, and Kate asked me, if you had to go on holiday with a character from any book, who would you go with and where? First off, I'm going to say I think it's fantastic that you phrased the question in the if you had to. I don't think it would be a chore to go on holiday with any of my heroes. I have to admit that right now. And I don't think the answer would surprise anybody if I pick Vale. I know he comes up a lot, but I really do love the guy and I would take him on holiday somewhere. I don't think my husband would be happy if he suddenly materialised out of nowhere and just kind of tried to sweep me off on holiday. He'd probably want to come along as a chaperone to make sure no hanky-panky happened. But back to the question at hand, I would probably take Vale somewhere relaxing. I mean, he's been through a lot. This is a dark elf who has lived for 5,000 plus years, and he spent 4,000 or so of those under the rule of a certain sorceress who shall not be named, and he never really had a great experience of the world, so his whole view of the world is probably quite coloured by his experiences at the time. So I'd like to take him somewhere relaxing because he's pretty wound tight. I feel that he could use some chill time, so I'd take him somewhere tropical, ocean, maybe a small island with no other people on it, just to keep them safe, where he can get his toes in the sand and just relax, kick off his shoes, walk around, generally just kind of laze about and kind of unwind. I feel that he needs to just really unwind. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of connection he'd feel to nature on a tropical island, but maybe he could go snorkeling and see the fish, probably get involved with some sharks. I mean, I don't know, I worry. But yeah, it would be great to kind of take him somewhere just warm and sunny, and I'm not just saying that because I want to go snorkeling, and but I do. I'd also like to go snorkeling, so yeah, tropical island, Vale. My next question comes from Julie, who asked me, what made you decide to write this genre? The road to me writing paranormal romance is a long and crooked one. To get you there, I have to take you way, way back to when I was single digits old. Now recently, well, within the last few years, my mum brought over a whole bunch of stuff from my school years. We're talking primary school, so I was maybe like 8, 9, possibly even younger. We had to write book reports, and I remember going to the library all the time when I was a kid, but apparently I had a real thing for the monsters. This showed by the fact that my book reports for every book that did not involve witches, vampires, werewolves, beasts, all of the fantastical things were labelled as boring. Not just boring, but boring all in capital letters and written much bigger than all the other words in those reports. Now, honestly, I could photograph them and put them on Facebook for you to see as proof. It was hilarious when I read this. I mean, I don't remember writing those reports, but apparently, even back then, my love was that of all the things that went bump in the night, and anything else just would not do. Now, this kind of then transferred into a love of fantasy books. Now, I was reading like the Redwall series and some of the Anne McCaffrey kind of dragon books and things like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I got really into kind of like the fantasy side of things. And then I think when I hit my teenage years, I started getting into reading classic romance novels. We're talking the Austens and the Bronte sisters. I mean, my favourite book is actually Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and I also love North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I've read like Wuthering Heights, all of the Austen novels, the Bronte sister books, including Anne's books. I read Frankenstein, I read Dracula. Dracula was like the first paranormal romance I read, I suppose. So I really got into like the gothic books and the classic romance books. I read a lot of classics in my teen years. This then sort of morphed into reading Terry Pratchett, so I kind of went back the other way. I went back towards the fantasy books, not so much the romance. But during my teen years, towards the kind of latter part of my teen years when I was at school, I really got into kind of building these worlds in my head filled with vampires mostly, but some werewolves. And I'd kind of like daydream about these vampires and werewolves in this world, and there'd be romantic elements to it, and I'd write down little stories for them, just like really short ones. And yeah, it kind of like snowballed from there into kind of years where I was watching, in my early 20s, I got into watching Buffy. Good old Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I was a Spike and Buffy girl. I was not an Angel fan at all. I did not like him. He is wooden and cardboard and more soulless than Spike ever was. Sorry, Angel fans. I'm a Spuffy girl. I make no bones with you. I mean, I just can't help it. I actually started writing Spuffy fanfiction back then. I got into reading it, and that kind of led into writing it, and I think from there that really triggered my kind of paranormal romance tendencies. I took all my love of things that go bump in the night and all my love of the classic romance novels, and I rolled them all together into paranormal romance once I discovered this thing existed. I mean, it was really exciting. I mean, I loved writing fanfiction. I mean, I built a following, I had such kind of great rapport with my readers, and so many people loved my Spuffy fanfictions. I mean, it was all really encouraging to me, and eventually I kind of, one of my fellow authors of Spuffy fiction kind of turned around to me and said, well, you know, have you ever tried writing something original? And I was like, nah, it's not for me. You know, I'm happy here playing in somebody else's world with somebody else's characters and sort of bending and breaking the rules a little bit, but ultimately not really changing the characters. I honestly didn't think I could do it, but she persisted, and then my husband started off too, kind of going, oh, you know, just give it a go, see how you do, sort of thing. And I kind of eventually was worn down enough that I gave it a go, and yeah, I just haven't really looked back. So I think that's kind of like my whole movement into paranormal romance was just because I always loved the kind of fantasy side of things, you know, whether that was reading it or drawing it or kind of watching it. I always loved the kind of high fantasy or kind of monster elements of stuff, and then I loved the whole classic romances and kind of the romance side of things, and it all just kind of merged beautifully into Spuffy fan fiction, and from there into kind of like my original fiction. So yeah, that's how I got into this genre, so I really hope that answered your question. Okay, this next question comes from Soraya, who asked, how many books do you think before you finish the Eternal Mate series? Well, Soraya, I currently have plans to write a further 16 books in the Eternal Mate series, starting from book 19, which I'm currently working on right now, and that's probably going to expand to be even more. I mean, at the moment I'm building up to a kind of big storyline involving Archangel, but after that we'll have other plot lines that will involve the devil and a, as currently not mentioned, other organisation which will be slowly emerging over these coming books. I think in total, I mean, this series could probably easily hit 40 books. I really wouldn't mind if it did, as long as you guys are all still enjoying it. I hope that answers your question. Okay, this next one comes from Donna, who asked me, are you looking forward to Rare 22? Now, for those of you who don't know what Rare 22 is, Rare 22 is a reader and author event, like a signing, I guess, that's going to take place in Edinburgh next year. It was meant to take place last year, then it got bumped to this year, and now it's getting moved to next year, and it's actually going to be my first ever author signing. So am I looking forward to it? Kind of equal parts excited, terrified. Right now, I have to admit, I've not done one of these before, and I am actually quite a shy person. I have a tendency to go full wallflower if I'm in like a big crowd of people I don't know. I'm not great at kind of being a people person. It's actually part of the reason for these videos is me trying to get more comfortable talking to other people and kind of expressing myself and just generally being more personable and overcoming these kind of psychological barriers I have about kind of connecting with people and their perceptions of me. So I know that I'm talking to a video camera right now, but honestly it feels like I'm talking to you guys personally, and it's really helping me come out of my shell. And I'm going to keep doing these until I'm just going to be amazing at Rare 22. No one's going to even know that I'm shy and completely nervous as hell, and also terrified that I'm going to end up sitting alone at my table with no visitors whilst watching all these other authors getting multitudes of visitors. I think that's my biggest fear. So if you see me at Rare 22, if you're attending in Edinburgh, please come and say hello, because I am going to be absolutely terrified that I'm going to be sitting there all day by myself, and it's going to be like a real challenge for me because, like I said, I've not done one of these before. I don't know what to expect. I do have these pictures in my head that I'm just going to be the only person there with no people coming to see them and people with no clue who I am. So it will be really good if you show up to come and say hello. I mean, I'm offering free hugs to everyone who comes, providing that we're actually allowed to hug at that point. Otherwise, maybe elbow bumps, something old school like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I am also scared out of my wits. So we're going to see how it goes, and hopefully I will be also doing the London event too, but the sign-ups for that haven't opened yet. But I'd love to do the London event too, because that's way closer to home for me, and I know that there's quite a few people who can't make it to Edinburgh this year, next year, sorry. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that I'll be able to do, this will be my first one, so you'll be popping my cherry, but I'll also be looking forward to kind of future ones should this one go well. So yeah, please, if you're there, come and say hello. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer in a future episode of Ask Me Anything, then drop them in the comments below, or head on over to my Facebook fan club group where you can connect with other readers like you and with me.